What's up, YouTube? Today's video for Worlds format is going to be on Pikarom. This is Ultra Prism through Unified Minds. I will have some proxies in here, and the set list for Unified Minds isn't concrete yet, so we're working off of what we suspect to be in the set for Worlds and the beginning of next season's Standard. So this is the list I've been testing with for a couple days now. And I'll be talking about why some of the cards are in there. Some of them will be kind of obvious, but I'll try to cover everything. So we're starting off with 2 Pikarom. This card's definitely still going to be strong because full blitz to charge up 3 while you're also hitting for a solid amount of damage. And then going into Tag Bolt to potentially take 4 prizes, maybe even 5 prizes at once. 200-170 spread is just nuts, and I don't think that's going anywhere. Mew from Unbroken Bonds is a counter to it, but we can just pick off the Mew first. I did have 2 Pikarom in here at first, but I've added the Mew Mewtwo tag team, so that can effectively be a pseudo third Pikarom when needed. And then we have 2 Zeraora. It's mostly in here to give our Pokemon with Lightning Energy on them free retreat with its ability, but it's also a solid 2-prize attacker. If you don't want to go right into a tag team after your first Pikarom's knocked out. And then our other main attacker of the deck is Zapdos, and we have 2 of that as well. For Thunderous Assault, if it becomes active, it swings for 80. And then, of course, Electropowers add on to that damage. Zapdos is probably still our best 1-prize attacker option for the deck. But it's not as good as it used to be, in my opinion, since Guzma was rotated out. Okay, next we have 3 Dedenne Gx. Since we do not have Marshadow or Tapu Lele for additional draw, I think playing more than 2 Dedenne is probably going to be necessary, because most games I want to play 2, and I don't want the third to be prized, and I want to also find them easily when I need them. So Dedenne change, discard your hand, draw 6. When you're going for the turn 1 or turn 2 full blitz, you don't really care about most of the cards that you're discarding. You just want to get to the cards you need, like the energy switch, the tag switch, the combo pieces. And speaking of combo pieces, here's Tapu Koko Prism. Dance of the Ancients allows us to attach 2 lightning energy to 2 different Pokemon from our discard pile to our bench Pokemon. And, yeah, this is how you get the turn 1 and sometimes turn 2 full blitzes, in addition to Thunder Mountain helping out sometimes. Alolan Raichu Tag Team GX is our next Pokemon. I do not know what the attacks are called since this proxy is in Japanese, but the first attack is Lightning colorless and swings for 80. And just like Thunderous Assault, if it was brought to the active this turn, if it was on the bench, it has an additional effect, which is plus 80 and paralyzes the defending Pokemon. Paralyzation is very, very good since Acerola and Guzma are not in the format anymore. And then its GX attack is Lightning colorless. It swings for 150, and if you have 2 extra Lightning energy on it, it swings for 150 and you switch from active to the bench. And then if you have 2 more Lightning on it, its additional effect is it does plus 100 damage. So because of the paralyzation effect of the first attack, that's a very, very good alternate attacker. And then, of course, we have the Mewtwo Tag Team GX. Its ability is that it can copy the GX attack of any Pokemon in the discard or on your bench. So we can use this against fighting type decks that would otherwise hit our Pikarom and our Raichu and our Zeraora for weakness. If they're fighting type, we can hit them back for weakness sometimes, or if they're fighting and not weak to psychic, at least we're not taking the weakness, extra damage for the weakness. So this can copy our attacks, and like I said, it can kind of be a pseudo third of any of these Pokemon, and kind of a second Alolan Raichu if we ever really needed that. It just gives us more options, really. If we discard a Pikarom and an Alolan Raichu, and then this is our attacker, we can use either of them. So onto the onto the trainers. That's all of our Pokemon. We're starting off with 4 Lily. If it's your first turn, draw until you have 8. Otherwise, draw until you have 6. Very solid supporter, and our best for this kind of turbo-oriented deck where we want to just go aggressive and try to hit our combo pieces early. That's our only 4 of supporter. Our next 4 of card is Electromagnetic Radar. I think decks that have naturally good Pokemon search are very well positioned for this upcoming meta. And Lightning has Electromagnetic Radar. So since Nest Ball and Ultra Ball rotated out, or will rotate out, a lot of decks are losing that kind of ball search, but we keep Electromagnetic Radar, which can search for any of these cards aside from Mew, Mewtwo. So that's really awesome. I'm sorry, it can't search for Tapu Koko Prism or the Zapdoses. It can only search for GX and EX. But we do have another option for that in the deck in just a bit. For Energy Switch, since switching our energy around is pretty vital to this deck strategy, and especially the early game of it, and at least the early game, and then sometimes you use it in mid and late as well. For Acrobike, because I want to be getting through my deck and seeing extra cards. Like I said, a lot of times with these aggressive decks, you don't care if you're losing cards to Dedenne Change or to Acrobike, as long as you're getting the turn 1 or turn 2 aggressive attacks off. And of course, we will be running 4 Electro Power. Choice Band is gone, so this is another nice thing that Lightning type decks have going for them, that they have this damage modification, while every other deck has lost their only damage modification in Choice Band. We also lost Choice Band here, but we keep Electro Power, which is really great. So since I also mentioned Guzma and Escape Rope have rotated out, we're playing 4 Custom Catcher. Because of the draw power of Dedenne Change and the supporters that we're playing that we'll get to in just a second, and even just the Lily that draws us so many cards, and the Acrobike that lets us mill through our deck to look for extra. I think Custom Catcher is a great fit here, and I think we also need a Gust effect since Mew from Unbroken Bonds is such a problem because it stops bench damage and it shuts down our Tag Bolt. I think we definitely need a Gust effect in the deck, so Custom Catcher is what we will be using. On to the 2-ofs, Volcaner. This is one of the reasons why I think Custom Catcher can work really well in this deck, just like Green's Exploration in the Green's Reshizard list I posted yesterday. Volcaner can search out one of these Custom Catchers if you already have one in your hand, or maybe you don't need to play a supporter this turn, but you have Volcaner, so you just search for that and a Lightning Energy to thin out your deck in hopes that next turn you can draw into a Custom Catcher to do the effect where you play 2 to gust up a Pokemon. But Volcaner's all around good since you need Lightning Energy and it can search for any of these cards, which Energy Switch and Electromagnetic Radar, Custom Catcher, and Electro Power can all be vital to certain turns of the game. Next, our tool that we are running is going to be Choice Helmet. Choice Helmet is probably the most cuttable card in my list at the moment. I almost cut it for 2 Cherish Balls, but I decided against that for now, just because in some of the matchups I've tested, the extra damage reduction is actually pretty nice, so I'm keeping it for now. If you don't know what it does, it stops, reduces 30 damage done to your active Pokemon. Not active Pokemon, the Pokemon this is attached to. Reduces 30 damage to the Pokemon this is attached to, done by your opponent's GX and EX Pokemon's attacks. Next, we have 2 Pokemon Communication. So, if we Electromagnetic Radar for 2 Pokemon, maybe we can communicate the second one back to get something that Electromagnetic Radar cannot search for, like a Zapdos or Koko Prism or a Mew, Mewtwo. We are playing 12 Pokemon in this deck. So, while it's not as a large quantity as some Zoroark decks of the past that made good use of Pokemon Communication, it's a solid amount of Pokemon. And also, since you'll be searching for 2 GX Pokemon with your Electromagnetic Radar, that's sometimes an extra Pokemon you could toss back with Pokemon Communication to get one of those Pokemon that are not searchable by Electromagnetic Radar. Okay, on to the 1-ofs. This is the first card. The first card I'll be talking about is one of the cards that might replace a Choice Helmet. So we're playing 1 Reset Stamp, but I do think a second could be really great. The only reason I'm comfortable with 1 is because we are running Volcaner, which can search it out when we need it. But that's also granted that we have the Volcaner in hand. So if you don't know what Reset Stamp does, it makes your opponent shuffle their hand into their deck and then draw cards equal to the amount of prize cards they have, which is really good for comeback mechanics or just late game plays in general. Next we have one switch. I would kind of like another switch, but since we have Zeraora's free retreat, I think that's fine. Then we have Tag Switch, which can move 2 basic energy from one tag team Pokemon to any of your other Pokemon. This has been really great moving from Pikarom to a lone Raichu or vice versa in testing. One Viridian Forest, discard a card and search for a lightning energy. This is good for both getting lightning energy into your discard pile for Tapu Koko or just searching out an energy when you need it. Thunder Mountain Prism, because of course we're going to play that since it reduces the attacks of your lightning Pokemon by 1 lightning energy. That's great for Full Blitz, it's great for Raichu, it's good for everything in the deck, really. And then we have a Red's Challenge. Discard 2 cards and search for any 1 card from your deck and put it into your hand. Rounding out the deck with 12 lightning energy, and that is my current Pikarom list. I hope you guys enjoyed this deck profile. Be sure to leave any suggestions or questions in the comments below, and check out flipsidegaming.com using code CELIO all caps for 10% off of your next order there, $10 or more. I'll see you next time here on Celio's Network.